Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use, but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year. And plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Hello. Welcome to At the Table Podcast, a virtual table where we discuss all things young adulting. My name is Fikayo, and thank you so much for having me in your ears. Hi. It has been so long. I know, y'all could probably just look back and listen to all the other episodes and podcasts I have, but for me, it has been so long where I could just kind of sit here with you guys and literally just talk. You know, that was actually the premise of starting this podcast in the first place, is so that I could just have somewhere where I could share my story and share my adulting, and in a way, it is also an audio diary, you know? But obviously, different things happened. The podcast, just started gaining more layers, good layers, not bad. Started having more people come on, and it started taking on its own shape. But I'm really happy that I'm able to still come back here and just talk, to be able to think out loud. And y'all know also, I'm a huge advocate of therapy. So I just think this is like talk therapy as well. And I love podcasts where people are having their own inner monologue, and I'm able to listen to them kind of just sort things in their mind. And I'm just happy that you're here. This podcast for me truly is my baby. I do not take for granted this space. I don't take for granted you guys being here, y'all listening. And I don't take for granted what it's developing into. And it's so exciting because, I tell people all the time, people ask me what are your plans for your podcast long term? And I'm I don't know. I treat my podcast literally just like a baby, and it will develop into what it's supposed to become. I don't want to have to say it's going to be this thing, it's going to be this thing, it's going to be. No, because I feel that's where you get stuck, right? When you're something must become like this, you now get unhappy because it's not becoming that, or it's just such a rigid thing. And I don't want my podcast or anything. Yeah, I just don't want my podcast to be like that. I don't want it to be a rigid body of work. I want it to be able to have its ebbs and flows. I want it to maybe one season be really guest heavy, maybe another season be just solo episodes heavy. I really, really would love to do a mindfulness exploration. I've done thought experiments on here. I'm about to read some books, and I'd love to do some book reviews on here, but I want it to become whatever it will become. I want it to be a flower that blossoms into itself. And I think that when it's time for it to have a concrete shape, it will. And I'll be able to do that. But for right now, I'm just growing it, doing the basics, and just making sure that the podcast has a really strong foundation. And not only foundation and acquiring episodes and building these episodes like I am, but y'all don't understand. Having a podcast is a lot of work. I am definitely pulling, I work 9 to 5, and then usually 5 to 9, I'm doing something for this podcast. I recently just finished my website. Insert clapping here, y'all. That was a huge project. I had a website before, but it was like, and I knew it wasn't great, but it was like, I have an IT background. I understand how important websites are. I need people to be able to see me if they want to see me, you know? And that I wanted a digital portfolio and I wanted my website to be that for me. So I just finished that project. It is and was a huge project, but I'm really happy with it. I'm very content. And it's other things like, you know, trying to find sponsors and affiliates for these podcasts as well. Because, well, when I had started this podcast, I think I had told myself, like, the only way I can continue to do this podcast is if it becomes self-sufficient. And because I have put that constraint on the podcast, like, it kind of just puts the urgency back on me, because now I need to make sure that it is able to be self-sufficient if I want to continue to do it. So reaching out to brands, reaching out to marketing teams and asking them if they will sponsor my podcast, getting yeses, but also getting no's. And that's another thing, getting no's. And I've been getting no's a lot, but I have been getting yeses, but no's suck, like, all the time. No's suck. And even right now, I'm still internally processing another no I got. For school, I had applied to a scholarship for my master's program, and I didn't get it. There's things I can do. I'll try to figure out another way to get funding, but like, it's not even necessarily for the fact that they said no. I think it's for the fact that, like, I feel like I'm working so hard, and that no felt like it was invalidating me, which is something I didn't even realize until I just said it now. But, you know, it's just one of those things. And I always tell myself I need to fall forward. And the day that I will hear yes will be the day I hear yes. And I remember that yes. And that makes me truly grateful for every yes I get. And whether it be scholarship funding for school or funding for the podcast itself, a yes is a yes. A win is a win. And I want to be able to appreciate the wins. But how will I appreciate the wins if I don't understand no's? Hopefully a little bit less no's, more wins, but you know. What else is going on with my life? I started swimming classes. I and my two sisters, because the sister that is under me, directly under me, our second sister, she did the swimming class before this rotation, and then she was like, oh my goodness, you guys, this is so good. So then I and my two youngest sisters, because I'm the first, we are all doing a class right now, and it has been wonderful. It has been chef's kiss. Mwah. We grew up doing... Man, I just read something. Okay, that distracted me. Okay, so we grew up in swimming classes, or when we were growing up, we took swimming classes, and that was wonderful. But it was just so cool to be able to take a memory from then and a memory from now and kind of fuse them together, if that makes sense. I remember when I was young, I hated swimming class because it was truly challenging, and we had steps too. So like, if you didn't pass the first class, you couldn't get to the second. So it just made me very, very anxious as a kid. And I remember the smell of chlorine mixed with my anxiety. And now I'm in this space, you know, again, and I'm smelling the chlorine just like how I did, 10 or so years ago. And I'm like, wow. But then it's like, so then the anxiety, you know, tries to set in, and I have to remind myself, like, you're fine. You're actually okay, babe. Like, you're okay. And this is, you're okay. Like, you're so much different than you were then. You have so much power, so much agency. You're an older person. Like, you have so much experience. You're fine. And another thing, like, I love about swimming classes is I don't want to say references, but it's too it's not the right word, and I have the articulation for this. I don't know why it's not coming to my mind, but the direct connections it has, I guess, to real life and real life challenges. And I say this because, okay, so let me give you a story time. So I think it was like the first week, right? And after we had done like the first swimming class, he was like, okay, so you guys were all going to come and do jumps now. And it was like, jumps? And he was like, yeah. And we were like, okay, where? Like the 5-foot water, the 6-foot? He was like, no, the 8 feet. And we were like, oh, okay, no problem. And I looked at my sister and I saw that she was a little nervous. I could cry. Okay. I looked at my sister, saw she was a little nervous, but I knew, like, we have a trainer right there. Once I jump into that water, if I don't come up, the trainer will come and pull me up. And like, last, I just might have a lot of water in my lungs, but I'm not going to die, type of thing. So, we get out the pool to go to the 8 feet side and jump. And like, I pull myself up out of the pool and I'm like, you know what? I've got this. I know how to do this. Right. So then mind you, this is a class. So there's other people there with us as well. And we walk up to like the 8 feet side. And the other people, like, they're nervous, but I'm not nervous. Why? Because my sister's looking at me. So I can't be nervous. I need to show her that you can do this. And I need to show her, like, you can face your fears. Mind you, me? Yeah, I have never jumped in an 8 feet pool. Well, not in the last 10 years. Not since we took the swimming classes way back when. And I was probably in elementary school when we did those classes. So in my adulthood and probably my teenagerhood as well, I had never jumped in a, look, it is, y'all need to stop emailing me, But yeah, I had never jumped in an 8 feet pool since then. And so I volunteer, I muster up the courage, and I volunteer to be the first person to go. And anyway, I volunteer to be the first person to go. And I remember so vividly, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. I remember so vividly standing on the edge of the 8 feet water, right? And he was just like, yeah, just jump. And I was like, yeah, just jump. So I'm standing on this water, instructor is telling us to just jump. And I'm like, wow, this jump is a serious jump. Like, I'm all of 5'2". Like, this is double me. Like, what do you mean jump? Like, and I'm standing on the edge and I'm thinking about, like, wow. And you don't realize how hard, like, in as much as when you step up to that plate and you're like, yeah, I got this, I can do it. You don't realize how hard it is to jump until you are forced to jump. And oh my gosh, I'm looking at my feet. And I'm looking at the water. And I'm looking at Justin. That's our instructor's name. And I'm like, Justin, if I don't come up, you're going to go down, right? Justin's like, yeah. So, I prep myself. And I start saying 3, 2, 1. And then I do that. But my body doesn't move. Which is so interesting. Like, that in of itself is a very interesting, like, phenomenon. Like, I was ready to go mentally, right? But my body hadn't caught up. My body didn't know, like, for real, it was moving. Or maybe mentally, like, I had decided I would do it, but I hadn't told my body. Or maybe it was a fear, like a subconscious fear that I hadn't even realized I had that was holding my body back. But, like, I knew I needed to jump because what was I going to do? Say, no, I'm not going to jump. My sister's right behind me. She's nervous. She needs to see her older sister jump so that she can jump, right? So, okay, go back again, calm myself down, look at Justin, look at the water, look at my feet, and I'm like, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it. So, 3, 2, 1. And my mind jumped first, and then I made my body jump. We hit the water, I went down, I came back up. And I just think that is just such a beautiful, like, I want to say reference for life, but it's not true. Like, it may not be a reference for life, but it's a beautiful life lesson. Like, although sometimes you don't know what's going to be on the other side, you should still take the leap. Although sometimes you're nervous, you're scared, you should still take the leap. And I mean, I don't know if all of y'all are religious, and I try not to market my podcast as a religious podcast either, but I do believe in God. And as long as I know that God is there with me, like for real, I can do anything. And that is a reoccurring theme in this podcast, because it is that belief in self with God that I need all of us to have and harness and to hold. It is what has gotten me through like tough times. It is what has gotten me through times where I didn't know if I could keep moving. It is what has gotten me through times that I thought I was defeated. Like, and it's crazy because I think people look at me now and they're like, Fikayo's got it. Like, okay, like she's trying to figure out her life. She's trying to know what she's doing with herself. But I'm telling you. And one day I will come out and I will explain the whole story. But I have had my times as well. It just was fortunate or unfortunate, I don't know. But I was lucky to have it like earlier in my life as opposed to later. So now people don't really see the scars that I have gone through because they've healed up. But I've had my fair share, okay? And those experiences scared me shitless to now like be working really, really hard because I really want to get away from that fear. And you know what? This is another conversation that I have really been ruminating on also, but how much is what everything I do fear? And I think that's the thing. Like I was talking to my friend about a month ago, right? And I don't know if I should say this, but I'm not really a spender, and I'm not, well, I make enough to spend. I really don't like it. And she was asking me like, Fikayo, why do you do that? And I was like, I have like really, really bad anxiety, like really, really like crippling anxiety. And the biggest form of anxiety I have is money anxiety, like money worries. So I'm the type of person where I would much rather save everything, like everything, and know that I have a pot to pull from if I need to, as opposed to spend lavishly, right? And that like that and it's so like, so I'm a really great saver, right? But the reason why I'm a really great saver is because of my anxiety. It's because I get nervous. It's because I get scared. It's because like I fear not having. And that is just one small example of like everything else in my life, I think, and everything else that I do and how I do everything, like even coming down to my relationships. Like, why am I not so open to new relationships? I think it's because I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. So it's like, you can't hurt me if I don't let you get close anyway, right? Or even like, why do I work so hard? Well, I work so hard because I don't want to have to not have anything to work for. And that's its own conversation on its own. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I've spoken about my anxiety on here time and time again, how it's not necessarily bad, at least now, it's not necessarily bad, but I do need to be more aware of it so that I don't see the seeds of anxiety coming up in my life and I'm wondering like, where did you come from, So that like, I know, oh yeah, no, that little patch right there has a little anxiety in it, leave it alone. I actually need that anxiety to grow with, my finances because it actually is protecting me and it's nurturing the soil or whatever. So no, leave that alone. But no, it shouldn't be in my relationship. So let's pluck those out. Let's pluck the anxiety out of my relationship, or let's figure out how to move the weeds and the seeds of anxiety over to the side of my relationship or put it in the middle or whatever. I hope it makes sense what I'm trying to say. But I don't want a life without anxiety because to some extent my worry is very, 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 very productive for me. It's just not a place where I want to constantly live. And then it's something that I have to critically look at constantly because like, why am I worried about this thing? If it's such a worry, if it's such a concern, that means there's a bigger problem, right? Or there's things that I should be doing to ensure that this isn't the nagging anxiety or the nagging ache of anxiety that I'm constantly feeling. I hope that mental work made sense to you. This is really how I think, you guys. This is me 24/7. There's a lot that happens in here, but I mean, I do really, really enjoy being in my mind right now. I really do enjoy it. Oh, speaking of, you guys, I'm thinking of something I've recently been dealing with as well. Oh, but it's body insecurity. I don't know. In the last few weeks, I have been dealing with my confidence. I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but I've been dealing with my confidence and I hate it. I hate when I get to this place because I can be very, very, very hard on myself. Like, I'm not taking pictures right now. I can barely look in the mirror. Like, I don't know. And then, like, right now, it's like my body and also my face. And I know it's all, like, not true. And I know it's all, like, mental distortions or whatever. And it's something that I've been trying to actively combat. But it either happens one way or another. Either I'm like, no, it doesn't matter, leave it alone. Or it does matter, fix it while you can. Or at least fix the things that you can while you can, right? So, like, my weight. I really don't think I have been gaining weight, but there was a comment said to me. I'm not going to say what was said to me, but there was a comment said to me, and I was like, okay. Okay. It was like my eyes lived in my head before, but when that comment was said to me, my eyes now live outside of my head, and they're constantly looking at me, and judging me. And I've just been dealing with the mental ramifications of that. And the only reason why I bring it up here is because I do think that this is a natural part of adulting, like looking at yourself, teasing out the things you don't like, and teasing and picking the things you do like, and being able to curate and invent your life. So now, I mean, and it's interesting because it's complicated, right? It's not that I feel like I'm gaining too much weight or I'm losing too much weight. Actually, it's I don't like my figure itself. So now I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm thinking of like body recomp. Like, how do I cut? How do I bulk? After how much I cut, when then should I bulk? Like, how many calories am I eating in a day? How much protein am I getting in? And this has never been something I've worried about before, like to this extent. So, like, this is a different mental framework that I'm in. And I don't know, like, I'm just really trying to watch it to make sure that it continues to be healthy. What else? Oh, you guys, I haven't been as consistent with this podcast as I would like. And it really, really irritated me. It has been irritating me. I don't like it, you know, and I made a promise to myself that every week I would push out a podcast. Every week I'd push out a podcast. This is my work. This is my consistency. This is one of the things that anchors me, podcasting. I, Fikayo, I am a podcaster. So I told myself I will podcast every week. And for the fact that I haven't been consistently podcasting, like, my conscious voice or subconscious voice or whatever, like the voice in my head has been like, Fikayo, like, has been really, really hard on me. And it's one of those things, just like the anxiety, I'm thankful for it because it does make me have to sit up when I need to, but I just don't like it. I really don't like it. I don't like how I haven't been consistent. So I've been looking at maybe a different plan on how I'm going to do things. Whether it be like how many featured guests I have, how many solo episodes I do. I definitely still want to release every week, but do I batch create? What does that look like if I batch create? There's a specific kind of content that I can batch create, and there's some specific kind of content that I cannot batch create. This is a type of content I cannot batch create because it's like, you know, I'm telling you relevant things that are happening in my life, but if I were talking about something else, then I could probably batch create it, like tips on blah, 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 blah. I could probably batch create that. So it's just really being in that mind. And then also school's coming up again. So where are we? We're in July. And school comes back up next month in August. And I really, really, really want to continue this podcast. Even my mom, one day she sat me aside and she said, I know you're really busy, but I need you to keep doing that podcast. And like, that was so beautiful. But I really want to keep doing this podcast and I want to stay consistent with every week. So I think I'll have to batch create. And the guest episodes too are like, they're very cumbersome. They are a lot of work. And there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to be able to bring the guests on here. And no matter how much I say like, oh, we do this, there's 15 other things that we do. So it is a very intricate, thorough process I try to go through to do these guest interviews, and it just ends up taking a lot of time. And then I'm not working only on my schedule, but I'm working on someone else's. So I'm not really, we'll see what happens. What else? There was something else somewhere that I wanted to talk about really quickly. I don't know where it went. Oh, I know. Oh my goodness. So this weekend, I'm really excited. This weekend, I'm going to Los Angeles, Manchester, and Arsenal. Yes, those are the soccer teams. Are going, or they're playing, and I'm going to be going. Do I know anything about soccer? No. But I'm going to Los Angeles for the first time. I'm really excited. I'm really, really, really excited. I could use like a step away from my real life just for a little bit. I like my life, so I like to come back. I don't like to be gone for too long, but I could just use a step away just for some time. So I'm going for 2 or 3 days. So when you hear this podcast, actually, I'm going to be there, or at least when this podcast drops, that's where I'm going to be. So I'm recording this like a few days beforehand, and I'm really excited. What else? What other young adulting thing is going on? Oh, marriage? Yeah. Scared of that. I'm not going to say too much before I get in trouble, but yeah, kids, not now. What other young adulting thing? I don't know. I really hope you all chase your dreams with everything that's in you. I really hope you don't allow anyone to hold you back. I really hope that you continue to build everything you want. You are still young enough to do that. And really, really dream. Like dream of the wildest thing. It doesn't even matter. But dream it, and maybe it might come to pass. But I really believe in you. And you know that. And I tell you that all the time. I really, really believe in you. So please go out into the world and be great. This is the end of our podcast episode. I love you guys so, so much. Without you, really, I couldn't even do this, honestly. And I really hope you enjoy listening to me on my journey of young adulting. As you yourself, you are young adulting. Please follow the podcast Instagram. It really, really helps me, you guys. Like, I need to be able to show these people, like, I have people that listen to the podcast, and I can see all the numbers on the back end, but on the Instagram and the social medias, it's not, the math is not mathing. So y'all need to go on. Y'all need to go and follow that. What else? Leave a comment. Please, 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 on my hands and on my knees. Please rate this episode. Actually, please. Like, I don't care if you're cleaning. I don't care if you're driving. I don't care if you are at the movie theaters. I just need you to go on on Spotify or Apple, and like click the little stars, and preferably 5, please, because it really helps me to be able to show the sponsorship agencies and all the places and all the powers of all the high places that, like, I really do have people that listen. So please do that. Please comment. It makes my heart like dance. And it makes me really happy to know that you guys are enjoying what I'm putting out as I share my story with you. Que más? Nothing else, I think. But you know what? I love you so much. Pray all the time and laugh. Really, 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 really loud. Goodbye.